Hello all and welcome back to our 3D scan data modeling exercise. We now have all the slab surfaces, the basic surfaces to contain the scan data that we see here. So if we look at it, we can also pick the surfaces and shade it up. We can see now that we have all the big surfaces that contains the scanned blue model here. So next now is to finish it off with all the transition surfaces, which we can probably see here. The purple and blue ones are basically fillets, and they vary a bit in radius. So my approach here is to start with this one right here. Also make this one, and then try and run a surface fillet all the way down here. We'll see how that works. Let's start with these ones. And to do that, I'm now going to abandon the symmetric modeling surfaces. So I'm going to cut this in half, and once I'm done, I'm gonna mirror it and check that we have continuity across the symmetry plane. Okay, so let's start by making a plane. We'll bring on the grid and create a primitive called plane in 0, 0, and 0, like so, and then we rotate it around the x-axis 90, 0, 0, like so, and then we scale that one so that it can be used to intersect all of these surfaces. I would see here, go and pick those, and we should have some curves and surfaces here. And we can then start trimming these by picking them. Sorry, no, we need that one as well, and also that one. Now we have half our surface model. We could also cut the mesh in half. Let's do that. So under mesh, we go to mesh curves, intersect, pick the mesh, go, and the plane, and go. And now we have a kind of a curve on mesh, and in order to cut it, we need to go to mesh partitioning, and cut. Go, and then we click the mesh, cut. Select the curve on mesh. There we go, cut. Hope that did the trick. No, it didn't. Okay, so we cut the mesh by using mesh partitioning, mesh cut, like so. We pick the mesh and go select the curve on the mesh, which is right there. We go cut. There are two components. Select components as subset. It's kind of like trimming a surface. So I click this part here and I click keep. And by doing so, I've cut the mesh as well. And now we just need to get rid of this surface right here, which we don't need. So we're back to using half the model. And since these surfaces were all symmetrical, there should not be a problem when we mirror them across the symmetry plane. Okay, so let's start then by trying to create this transition surface back here. And if we have a look at the curvature map, we kind of see where that radius should begin, right around this area where it goes from green to blue, and right around this area right here. So let's start by making a surface fillet using the surface fillet command. It's set at quarter. I'd like to try radius, and I'd also like to go for curvature here. And if we deselect that one, we click first the top surface here that turns pink, and the rear surface here that turns yellow. We need to keep these arrows pointing into the center of the radius, like so. We could always pick these arrows to change the direction. And we go auto update, and it builds something here, which is not great at this point. We need also to get our analysis going. So I'm going to pick all of these objects and turn on our Y sections like that. Now we can see what's happening here. And clearly this radius is way too small. So using object edit, query edit, going back into the creation mode of this surface, we're going to increase this radius and see what that does to it. And I think we're getting fairly closer, around 2021. Something like that. Looks nice, doesn't it? Also, we could play around with the end conditions here of the surface. So let's put an edge align there. It aligns the edge to this edge right here and goes smoothly over to that edge. Not that it really matters, but we could do that. And let's do the same thing here at the symmetry plane with edge align. And I'm guessing that this surface is pretty good now. We could check the continuity to make sure we have curvature along the edges, which we do have, which is nice. We can turn that off again. And let's also check the distance between this surface that we just created and the scanned data using the evaluate deviation map set to 0.2. I click the surface, I go accept, and then I click the scan data. And as you can see, we're well within 0.2 millimeters for the entire surface, except here where our coming transition surface will run. So I'm happy with that one, and let's continue on the other end, see what we can do there. I'm going to work with these two surface fillets, and we can keep the cross sections on here and try and find a nice transition between these two, also using the multi-surface fillet, surface fillet. So I click that surface there, and that surface there. Let's not go for the edge align option right now, and let's not have such a big radius. This is clearly a small radius, so let's bring that down to, I'd say, oh, there we go. It's as small as maybe 3 or 4. Something like that. It looks like we're well within the limitations here. Let's check that one as well using the deviation map. So I click the surface, the scan data, and it's all green. So it should be good. I think I saw a tiny red or blue spot there, but that's just probably an error in the scanning. So I'm going to keep that one. Question is this surface long enough? I don't think so. We should probably need to extend the surface right here. And you can see it remains symmetrical, even though I'm pulling this one out. See what that does to it. And also it extends our surface fillet right here, which is great when we run our fillet down here. Let's do the other one and see what that does. Surfaces, multi-surface fillet, surface fillet. I click this surface and that one and keep the radius the same. I'm suspecting that the designer of this thing, whatever it is, wanted to have the same kind of radius here as he or she did here. So we go auto update and see what that does to it. Also, we bring on our cross section analysis and look at that. It's kind of nice, doesn't it? And we're really close to our cross sections here. And we've also managed to capture the shape of this thing. Now I'm going to stop here, and next episode we'll start working on the final transition surface that goes all the way along these edges right here.